So this is the guardian ad litem appellate brief. And I'm going to say this before I even get started. The appellate attorneys, except for probably the one in Union County, because he's in an office with these people, they just received the it's called the transcripts from the last hearing, which was October 16th, the permanency hearing, which was October 16th, 2024. They received what's called a settled record. So they all settled on a record. And so they received the transcripts, the settled record, and the case file, which I think is that. That's all they receive. So they weren't in the courtroom. They have no idea, what really happened, what really didn't happen, nor do they have access to really anything other than what's given to them. And the appeal is only to look for errors. That's it. So it's really not to retry the case. It's not to you can't point out errors like some of these things like they didn't want to correct the record on. Errors with the law or errors with the procedure, errors with the way that the proceedings went, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. So it's really just only looking for errors. So I want to make sure that I say that because this woman had no idea what went on in the courtroom. So when I'm blasting some of the things on here, I'm not blasting her. I'm blasting pretty much the situation because it shouldn't even be in the file. If when you go to court and you're in a court case, you have the right to prove or disprove something that might be in the record that is false, especially when you have proof of that. So unfortunately, I was not allowed to do that. I wasn't allowed to do that because I never received any court summaries or anything prior to any of the court hearings. But even after the court hearing, when I would read these things and I would see that, I was like, oh my gosh, that's not true. I would send all the attorneys, including my own. I guess you're not supposed to do that. I didn't know better. I really didn't care because I just wanted to get the record corrected, quite frankly. So the guardian ad litem, my attorney, the DSS attorney, and Red's attorney. So I always did. I think I sent it to the caseworker and the guardian ad litem as well. Just so everybody's on the same page because, I had a right to point out some things, especially some of these things that are really outrageous, quite frankly. And you would think that, a caseworker or a guardian ad litem wouldn't have a skin in the game, but unfortunately they do in this case. So anyway, we're going to go here. This is her, so it's Mora's guardian ad litem appellate counsel brief. They're basically reviewing the case. So on November 6, 2023 is when they filed the first petition. That was 2 days after Martha got here. And this is interesting. Mind you, just so you know, all these calls to DSS were Martha, my sisters, Katie and Emily, Emma, and Red. So they were the ones making these calls. The crazy thing is that when DSS came out to my house, there was no situation like that had been called in because they came out and they just kept giving me safety assessments because there was no substance abuse, there was no dependency, there was no emotional abuse, there was no cruel, gross behavior modification, unsafe discipline, or an injurious environment. The police were out there. The record says, I don't know if it's true or not, 14 times, seems like a lot. 14 times, and they never ever made a referral to DSS. And they will, if they're concerned. Like when I got that charge in 2021, they did make a referral just to make sure that I wasn't on methamphetamine, and I wasn't. But the police don't mess around. If they had any suspicion or if they'd seen what, these people want to describe as what was going on, even though they were not even in our life, meaning Martha was in Montana, Emma was in Hamlet, Red was in Charlotte, Katie's in Scotland, like the country Scotland, Emily's in New Jersey, Martha's in Montana. Did I get everyone? Yeah. So they would catch wind, say I'd tell my aunt something that happened. My aunt would tell my sister would tell my other sister would tell my mom would call DSS. It's like that, Or perhaps DSS was telling them that she was screaming outside and they decided to just make their own narrative as to what was happening, and none of them were there. And each and every one of these people, by the way, they're well aware that I'm not a child abuser. So this was like done to take advantage of the situation because Red didn't want to pay child support. It kind of happened at the perfect time for him, but just so you know, like, these people absolutely are aware that there was no child abuse, that I don't do any of these things, and just so you know, this is not like a mistake or an oopsie. Okay, so it says, okay, so then, you know, I was kicked out of the house on November 4th, so I was like living in this motel, not having any clue what was going on because nobody would talk to me. It was so cruel. And then I went to go get my stuff. I went to go get like a carload of stuff on December 1st. And that's when my mom called 911 and like pretended like she was like all scared, but you can like hear me in a couple of rooms over. You know, she's having the dispatch lady ask her yes/no questions, like she's you know, in trouble. That was all just an act. So they told DSS, that was on December 1st when that happened, when I went there with my friend Carmen. It was like it was no big deal. My mom made this whole big deal, but like when the police came, they were just like, no big deal. My mom told them, that was December 1st, 2023. My mom told them about it on December 5th, 2023, so 5 days later. And then 3 days after that, they took my daughter into custody non-secure, which is highly unlawful. Like, there was no immediate danger situation, or, you know, I mean, it was 8 days after I went to go get my stuff. If they're ever gonna use that as the problem, but the problem wasn't a problem. It was just Martha being annoying, and she wanted to go to New Jersey, and she did not want to leave the house because they had actually closed the case to do in-home services, which means they're going to bring like a psychiatrist in a couple days a week to like work with Maura and I to, you know, to bridge that gap. And there's that. So yeah, they took non-secure on December 8th. At that time, my mom was supposed to be giving 1 hour minimum supervised a week with me, and she was refusing visitation. So, you know, she stole my house, she stole my daughter, she stole my stuff, she stole my life, and she totally was refusing to give me visitation. I never really understood why, but apparently she was like telling my family that I was like being violent, and I was nowhere around her. The only time I saw her was on November 25th, when she did give me an hour of visitation at the mall, at the Concord Mills Mall, and what else did I see her? I went to a ballet parent watch night, and I tried to go to her Maura's holiday concert at school on December 7th, which was like at the school. And when I went to the school, I went right up to Deputy Dobbins and asked her, like, am I allowed to be here? Because I wasn't sure. And she called the civil deputy who came and looked through all my paperwork, and I was allowed to be there. But like, that's how careful I was. Anyway. And I guess whatever the Monday was, maybe it's 11th or 12th, is when they filed an amended juvenile petition with details of incidents of neglect. So when the appellate DSS attorney says that, you know, I'm acting like I had nothing to do with, you know, why she was taken into custody, I truly don't. I was living in a motel. I had no idea what Martha was doing. I had no idea, you know, what they were all concocting this, you know, basically just a narrative, and they all followed along with it to make it until it was like true in the courtroom, but it wasn't true on the outside. It wasn't real. It was just to like get this paperwork swayed one way. Okay. Oh yeah, this was great. So Martha went to New Jersey in December for 2 weeks. She came back, and then upon coming back on December 30th, she demanded I come get whatever she was going to give me from the condo and go put it in public storage, because I was still living in a motel room at this point. You know, I'm still looking for a apartment and living in a motel. So she demanded on December 30th that I come get a truckload of stuff and put it in storage, which was, you know, a waste of money and annoying. But apparently she started saying, no, I'm saying apparently because I read this stuff later in the court summaries. I had no idea what was going on. My mom was not talking to me. So apparently she was telling DSS, like, it was like coming around the house, like creepy stuff, like looking in the windows and like knocking on windows and doors. Of course, there was no calls to 911 or anything. She also said I tried to kidnap Maura. I think her and Red both said that like I told them that I was gonna like come and like, you know, leave the state, which is like ridiculous. Yeah, these are the things that they were just coming up with just to make me look almost like, you know, like I didn't have any sense. Not really. I think they were trying to describe like mental illness, but they were being a little ridiculous with it because they're kind of describing someone who might, you know, have an intellectual disability or might be lost or, you know, maybe on drugs, lost kind of thing. But so then on December, no, was it December? Oh, December 11th. Okay, yeah, January 11th. So a month later, and she came back on January 11th. My attorney didn't even get. They filed it on January. I'm sorry, they filed it on January 10th or 11th, and it was for January 16th, the court date, which is 5 days notice. My attorney didn't even get the notice to tell me to even come to court. But of course, that was, you know, intentional. They all went there, and I guess Martha got on the stand and said, you know, I was like creeping her out and to get the judge to order no contact, even though she had already not allowed me to have any visitation since November 25th. Now she wanted it on file, and they heard the case, even though it was only 5 days notice. It's supposed to be 10 for a motion for review hearing, because it's important that everybody attend and you know, get to defend yourself. But they did hear the case, and they put in a no contact order, which was obnoxious because, you know, my mom came and like stole my life and my home. That's like my community. My neighbors were my friends. It was just ridiculous. She was so obnoxious. Martha and Emma and Red, I'll even say even the caseworkers and guardian ad litem, like they just had such a need to be so, they were so needy and obnoxious with their need to be, you know, the center stage of this case. And it's sad because the center stage should have been Maura. Maura was like left behind. Okay, so January 16th, that's when that happened. February 13th, that's when my attorney, she filed paperwork like on the 8th or something. I thought we were going to trial because, you know, I knew the whole thing was just nonsense. She had all these names listed. I showed up that day thinking like she had subpoenaed everybody, even though, you know, and I was there with like 3 of my friends who were, you know, willing to testify. And, you know, one of them was a neighbor. So when I showed up on the 13th, I was told that, nope, you cannot go to trial. And I was pissed. And I have 3 witnesses that were there that day. I was pissed. That's not how this is supposed to be. That's called being railroaded, and not, and that this was a pre-planned situation, that it was going to go the way they wanted it to go. And it ended up being just that the entire time. Which is not fair to Maura, because that meant like adults were controlling the narrative by their dumb, you know, false reports and you know, stupid things that they put in the court summaries and stuff that were not even true. Nobody cared about what Maura wanted or needed, or the fact that her mother wasn't even given a chance to do anything but get slandered and falsely accused and spend all my money and, you know, lots of pain to be separated from Maura. And these people just did whatever they wanted. No joke. Alright, what else we got here? October 16th. Productive. Okay. Melanie is removed from the custody of parents. Yes, she wasn't in the custody of the parents, she was in the custody of me. But she had been removed on October 30th, so it's kind of silly that they left her in the same place with the same person, with the same, you know, exact, I guess you could say like safety factors, because it's supposed to be like, you know, a risk of harm at that point. But she was with my mom, nothing had changed, and now she was just, you know, in foster care, and I wasn't allowed to talk to her or be around her. So that's unlawful. Like, that was up to appease Martha for whatever reason. I don't know what the heck the problem is. I guess she just wanted more time. I don't know, but that really was upsetting because, when you put my child, in state custody, and of course I didn't know for sure how this was going to go. I mean, they could have screwed all of us. What if they, decided to, not go along with their little game plan, and, more ended up, in a foster home that they really took risks and did stupid things with my little girl. Red doesn't care, but, I'm talking about Martha and Emma, and they didn't have the right to do this shit. Okay, so statements of facts. Melanie is removed from custody of parents. That wasn't on November 6th, but I guess she's going back. Okay. November 6th, DSS filed a... That was after... It's actually October 30th when they sent me to the hospital. And then they gave her to Red, and then they, without my permission, she was supposed to go to Carmen's that night, and then wouldn't give her back, wouldn't give me a drug test. They started playing all these games, so I was like, no, I revoked that plan. And then they got really mad at me about that. Well, I'm sorry, but Red's not a good person. He pretty much showed everybody who the heck he is and how little he cares about his daughter and how little he, he literally was able to steal everything from me. All my property he has, there's a reason why I didn't want my daughter around him and why I didn't want him around us. And DSS didn't care, so. Six other reports in 4 days. Mind you, the money dropped for Emma's loan on September 26th. So you know. They were getting a little greedy with their calls, but the problem is, and DSS knows this, these were all calls from, out of state. There's no calls from any neighbors or the police or teachers or anybody in the community. It was these people who ended up, coming around to claim to be the heroes of a situation that they themselves started, caused, and had no right to be a part of because they were not in our life and they had no right to be making false allegations from all parts of the damn world, All that's nonsense. That's their narrative. Of course, Martha, additional details of neglect. Mind you, Martha should have been gone. DSS invited her here. Well, when they decided to close the case and Sarah Kelly came to my motel room to tell me that they were going to do in-home services, they should have told Martha, bye. And if Martha didn't want to go bye, well, guess what? Then she can go file with the court an eviction notice and do it the legal way. But DSS allowed all this nonsense. And yes, I was pissed because it was ridiculous. Okay, so on December 11th is when all of a sudden Christian Clark comes on board, although Christian Clark was on the case on December 7th, which was, she was part of taking her non-secure. So I feel like Christian Clark was a hired gun. I feel like somebody knew her prior. And she did way too much fake evidence and lollygagging and not putting my daughter's needs before her own need for attention, and just basically her and the caseworker were protecting Red and Emma and Martha the whole time. You didn't even tell that in the visitations. They didn't care about Maura. They cared about protecting Red and whatever nonsense they were doing. Oh yes, this is December 11th, I guess, is when they did it was December 12th, 14th. And they said that I was unable to understand court proceedings. Can you imagine? Mind you, that's not how it's supposed to go. They're supposed to at least ask you questions, figure out are you incompetent, or you know what I mean? Can you understand? The attorney didn't even talk to me, so it's kind of sick that they did that. And then they left it the whole time. Appellant violates the no contact order. Oh yeah, so January is when my mom said that I was violating a no contact order, but there was no contact order. There was a no contact order. So it says, DSS filed a motion which requested that the court review the current contact order against the appellant and address the mother's continued violation of the no contact order. It's ridiculous. The motion specifically alleged the above-named juvenile is currently in the custody of Union County DSS and is residing in her family home, our home, with the maternal grandmother. This mother in this matter, Kelly O'Neill, has been court-ordered to have no contact with the juvenile. The mother has shown up at the home of the juvenile at least 5 separate occasions. On at least one of these dropped off. One occasion, the mother arrived at the home when the juvenile was being dropped off by her school bus. Yeah, I went to go get my mail, and I happened to catch the bus, and they said I was trying to kidnap her. I have the whole thing videoed. I'm just sitting there, like, waiting for the bus to go beep, beep, beep. I was trying to get my mail before, first of all, there's no reason for me not to have any contact with Maura. This was Martha, and her need for, not having any reunification for me, just, to hurt us. To hurt us. This was hurtful to Maura. Maura knew damn well that all this was just fake and bullshit, and she didn't ask for this. So it's interesting that, on the other appellate brief, the guy says, Maura doesn't need to hear all this. She's already lived it. She's living it right now. This is not like a secret from her. All this stuff. It happened right in front of her. Not by me, because I was nowhere around these people. But these people just did all this chaos and drama. So, don't be mad at me for putting stuff out on Facebook. I'm trying to put it on Facebook because I want you all to run an investigation of this case and all of you charged. That's why I want it on Facebook. And I guess that's why you don't. But concerned that the mother may attempt to take the juvenile from the home. Come on, dude. Like, Martha is a monster. She's absolutely making all this nonsense up. Where would it go? You know what I mean? I kept her in the home with Martha. Well, I didn't think it was going to go like this, but because I wanted her to stay, stable, and I didn't think that this was going to even happen. I mean, I could never have dreamed, in my wildest dreams, that this could have ever gone this far, quite frankly. I mean, really. It's unimaginable. Okay. January 16th, that was that hearing. I shall not go to the residence. I shall not approach my mom or the juvenile at any place or any time. Okay. Any gift or correspondence for Miss O'Neill to the juvenile shall be given to DSS and discussed with the juvenile's therapist prior to turning it over to the juvenile. So yeah, so when I left her Christmas presents, they used that against me. It was like I think they were trying to portray I'm just this abuser and I'm trying to buy her love. But they were Christmas presents. And then she didn't want some of the things, like the roller skate, some of the different things that she didn't want. My mom gave back to me, and I went to Target and I exchanged them for some clothes for her. And I dropped those off. So they're acting like, I'm trying to buy her, basically they're trying to describe what an abuser's like. They abuse you, and then they, give you flowers or candy or tell you that they love you and that they're sorry, and that they do it over and over again. That's what Martha and Red and Emma were trying to, and I guess DSS, trying to portray me as. And the crazy thing is, every single one of them knows I'm not an abuser, number one, but Red is. Number two, he doesn't even say I'm sorry, though. He's that much of an abuser. But of course, DSS and the guardian ad litem, they only knew what Martha, Emma, and Red were telling them, because they didn't talk to me. They never checked any information. They never talked to anybody else. Just those 3 people, and it was just a big line of garbage. I mean, just nonstop garbage. They rewrote history as to what was going on in my house. It's really sad, because my daughter and I got left behind big time. But that's what that's on there for. Okay. February 13th, the court held adjudication. Ado noted that the visitation between appellant and Melanie was in the best interest. Yeah, this is when I got 1 hour minimum a week. On February 13th, and I think it was the following week that I started visitation. says it noted that visitation between the appellant, me, and Melanie was in the best interest. The trial court then ordered the following as a visitation. Visitation shall take place as follows. The mother shall have a minimum of 1 hour per week supervised by DSS. If at any point during the visitation it appears that the mother is under the influence of an impairing substance, the visit shall immediately cease and the supervisor may request an immediate drug screen. The father shall have, so angry that they put that there because they were setting themselves up, you'll see. And he could have every other whatever. DSS witnesses concerning behavior by appellant. Here we go. On May 7th, a review of the visitation hearing was conducted. On June 3rd, the court entered an order regarding visitation. Mind you, the visitation was ended on April 3rd. So, and this is Jocelyn. He said, I'm going to play that. March 19th, the mother appeared physically different. Mind you, if you listen to the March 19th visitation, you can hear my daughter telling me about not putting her dad in jail. You hear me like frustrated because the DSS caseworker kept interrupting our visitation. It was always stuff like that, like she was protecting Red, and to me, I had no idea what was going on, mind you. I was kept in the dark, I was kept away from all these people, so I'm just starting to find out what was going on, and I was concerned. Very concerned, quite frankly, of the things I was finding out, and so the caseworker really became a pain in the ass. But I still didn't have a problem, I had a problem, but I didn't let her know it. You know what I mean? So you can hear me on March 19th, on March 26th, the next one. Let's see here. Dates. So we had one on March 5th, 12th, 19th, 26th, and then the last one was on April 2nd. Okay. So, yeah, this is what she said in her little court summary. This is what really upsets me because I have audio recording of these visitations and none of this happened. None of this happened. March 26th, none of that happened. It was actually on April 2nd, and I knew it was going to be my last visitation because they, after the March 26th visitation, I made a report to the constituent's office, which is like where you report DSS to if you have a complaint. So they found out on April 2nd, and I knew that April 3rd was going to be my last. April 3rd? I'm not sure. April 2nd, yeah. I had an appointment with them on April 3rd. So I knew April 2nd was going to be my last visitation, and that's when we hear me, like, it's only like a minute and a half long, and I go in and I'm like, trying to like say all these things at one time to Laura, and it just didn't come out right, but it still didn't come out like this. Laura was not concerned about me recording. She just noticed me recording, and like, I think Jocelyn Hayes was more concerned about me recording, and this is why, because she bullshits court summaries. Let me screenshot that. Down here. Screenshot. Screen capture. March 26th. You don't hear me like running around, like trying to find an exit. It's just like, what? I screamed at Melanie and told her that her life was in danger. Here's the deal. Okay, LS also begun taking unauthorized pictures and videos. These people like made a big deal of it. I'm telling you, if you didn't have like the biggest bunch of hateful people like on your case, like every single thing that I did, they found fault with it to the max and dramatized it. When we were in the courthouse waiting for court, there was always a big group of people, which included the caseworker, the DSS caseworker, the guardian ad litem, like, Emma and Donald and Red and Martha. They were all in this big, like, group in the middle of the hallway every time when we went to court. So all I did was like videotape it to show that this was so one-sided and that these people were like friendly like that. You know what I mean? It wasn't. I mean, you're authorized to take video in a public place wherever you freaking want to. So the reason why they're saying, why they're saying unauthorized, they're such nags. I'm not kidding. Like they took every little thing and like twisted it around, and it was just stupid and immature, quite frankly. But none of this was cool for Maura. Her school. I went one time and watched her Girls on the Run practice from across the road because that's all I could do. Mind you, I raised my daughter for 9.5 years, and we were really close. And I used to watch her Girls on the Run all the time. So when this all happened, like, they, snatched her, like, away from me, and they said I couldn't even, like, be around her, pretending like I'm such a violent person, which is bullshit. And then, like, whenever I would do something more, I didn't even know I was there. But I would do something like that, and I don't even know how they know that. But, and they would slam me for it. Like, I'm not allowed to be in her, like, I can't begin to tell you how vicious these people were. It was horrific. Now they're saying, like, I'm harassing Red. Like, you gotta be kidding me. I could give a shit about that motherfucker, like, real. Hadn't talked to him in years. Like, but what they were doing was they were preparing to start the change of custody from Martha to Red. So this is why they put all these things in place. Just like they got restraining orders, like I couldn't go around the house. They did not want to show me that they were, getting my property, even though it's Maura's stuff, it's my property, like bedroom furniture and stuff like that. That's not Maura's, it's mine. I had the insurance on it, it's mine. The reason why I say that is because I'm the one who has to replace it now. So if I ever have an overnight with my daughter, I need to go buy all new things for her and buy all new toys and buy all new clothes because, well, Red just decided to steal whatever he wanted to. And DSS allowed that. It's not okay. This became outrageous, but now I'm going to put the, I guess I go here. Okay, we're going to go to home and my videos. Okay. There's my videos. Oops, my videos. Now I'll just show the and then the other two you can see in here. They're all in the excuse me. I have a playlist. I have a visitation playlist to find anything. Okay, there we go. Alright, this is the one. It was like a minute and 40 seconds. But you don't hear me screaming. You actually hear me trying to stay calm. You hear the lady screaming at me. Oh. Okay. There you go. Shots on Hayes saying, hi. You hear me saying that? Maura wouldn't even look at me. I had no idea what was going on. Sorry, that phone's in my purse. Before anything actually. So Maura, okay, let me pause this for a second. So when we first got there, Maura asked me why I was sending her her grandma a text. She was kind of snotty and asked me, why'd you send my grandma that text? I was like, I don't even know what you're talking about. I'm like, I don't even know why your grandma's getting you involved. This was spring break and her grandma had brought her to this visitation. So apparently the entire trip up here from Hamlet, she was talking about a text, or I have no idea, but Maura was not in a good mood to see me. Of course, this is how vicious Emma is. It's her way or the highway, and anybody who knows her will tell you that. So this is just really sick that this woman has paid to abuse her granddaughter and steal all my stuff, and that DSS allowed all this. It's kind of insane. Here you go. And then all of a sudden, and then I knew, like, remember, I knew this was going to be my last visitation, and I know it sounds ridiculous, but really what I was trying to say to her was, it's not your fault, and I'm still fighting for you, and, if you feel unsafe at your dad, because I thought this was going to be her first overnight. I had no idea that they were doing this all behind my back, but, just ask for help. That's it. Like I tell anybody, they could tell her any day, whenever. I mean, it's not a big deal, but this is what they not only ended my visitation, although they didn't say this date or the situation, they put it into another date, but now the appellate lady is saying that I should not have contact with my daughter, like, for life, because of a fake situation in a court summary, but this was really the situation. And I know it sounds stupid, but this is not violence. This is like, frustration, and it was sad, but you don't hear me threatening anybody's life or telling anybody he's in danger. Like, this is ridiculous.
Mom, why did you send that text to me?
Oh, there's the text.
You're not allowed to involve in legal situations and try to bring involved in.
Okay, so let me say
I
this.
just want to tell you that.
They were not allowed to, like, put her in the middle, but they did. And now Jocelyn Hayes is sticking up for them.
Speak to her, Kelly. You can speak to her and visit with her, but if you're allowed to speak.
Like, I couldn't do anything right.
I'm asking you about
This is not the time for
about
that.
her safety. You know what?
It's not the time for that.
What is the time, ma'am? Because I only have 1 hour to go.
Let me go get a share.
Let me go get shares.
I was like, Mom, I just want you to feel safe. That's it. I had no idea. Mind you, gotta remember, I had no idea that Red and Emma had already had visitation since December. I didn't know that. In the courtroom, that was not what was allowed by the judge. So when this all was happening, I was so clueless, and I thought that this was like her first week. I figured she might be scared, and that's why I was saying this stuff. And of course I knew my visitation was over. That was scary, but at the same time, like, I didn't know if she'd feel comfortable staying overnight for a whole week, because she's never had been before, ever. Like, my daughter would stay with her grandma for one night. She'd want to come home. 2 nights with her dad. So when this was all going on, all I was thinking about was, like, Maura, and how it must be so out of sorts for her, because her mom was gone, and now they're making her do all these overnight all these things that, like, she was never comfortable doing before. So they never got any of that part from me, and they never understood that, because these people never talked to me. Literally, that's how they talked to me the entire time. It was always, they're going to tell me this, they're going to tell me that. I couldn't say anything, I couldn't do anything right. It was disgusting. And this situation right here was not, like, scary for Maura. I was just basically, like, trying to make her feel safe, or I guess I wanted to feel that she felt safe. And this is not a situation where I'm, like, screaming at her like she's in danger at all. I said to the case where I just want her to feel safe, like, what I mean, like, that's all. And this video was, this visitation was completely left out of the court summary, by the way, of course. Because Red was only supposed to have one every other weekend, 4 hours, and then you got a whole week. You got an entire week overnight unsupervised, when he was only supposed to have 4 hours unsupervised every other weekend. So that's why they left this out. But this is the video this is the visitation and the situation that now the appellate attorney has been, she's just reading the file, and since that file was perjury and obstruction of justice in that file, now she's also recommending that the appellate courts uphold no visitation for life. Crazy, right? Oh, how do I go here? Oh, no, let me stop here.